In 2012, through my former company Wertwirtschaft eBusiness Marketing UJ, I created the logo and the claim for the spin-off of the Schug Medical company. Schug Medical Healthgineering and Schug Medical Service was the result of this design job, documented by an invoice and a video statement of the CEO and founder of Schug Medical. In 2017, Siemens started to use the term Healthineers for the medical division. The term Healthineers constitutes a copyright infringement under Section 2 of the German copyright law. The word Healthgineering is the inversion within the semantic field. Healthineers is merely the noun derived from the gerund Healthgineering. This represents a distinct phonosemantic quality that creates a rhetorical trope, a shift in meaning from healer to healthier. The shared historical morpheme from Old English has derived into two parallel strands, heal and health. Heal forms healing as its ing form, from which healer can be derived as a noun. Health, by contrast, has no ing form, and consequently no agentive person who brings about health. Only through engineering does the institutional network acquire an additional verbal and process-oriented field. A second, proportional, this time logical, angle of differentiation is provided by the categorical imperative. Health, as such, cannot be further increased. One can only recover from illness or injury and become healthy again. Based on the teleological principle of medicine, a healthineer cannot logically demonstrate a utility-based balancing of interests. It must therefore be understood as an individualistic decision. The lexical field can be clearly distinguished in meaning from the utilitarian medical technologist specialist. I further created a corporate idiom, the continuous meaning-generating activity of actively shaping health. Semantically, this creates a predictive effect in which the focus is not on devices or systems, but on acting individuals. In other words, unlike conventional company names, it does not designate an object, rather it tautologically points to the acting human being as a form of self-reference. It is the image of the helping genius, formed from healthier and ingenuity, through the intermediate tones of the psycholinguistic Ganon effect, each time the sign appears. The interpretation of acoustically ambitious speech sounds is influenced by lexical knowledge through top-down processes. Particularly among the relevant market circles in the customer's sales territory, the intended effect can be evidenced as an original, copyright recognizable level of creative threshold, because lexical knowledge is differently structured there. These three pillars form a body within which a paradoxical figure emerges. The paradoxical figure in the firm logo constitutes an organizational identity that extends from corporate design through to corporate identity. The firm is a communicative social actor, and precisely this construction of identity is the distinct form that we refer to in everyday's language as firm. The CED framework makes this performance measurable. CED stands for core, meaning central defining characteristics, enduring, meaning stable over time, and distinctive, referring to differentiation from others. This is the value proposition that strategically condenses the organization's self-definition and represents its performance and benefit promise to stakeholders. It is an intellectual bridge that appears grammatically as a predictive and predicate and is carried by the organization on the asset side of the balance sheet as an intangible asset. The case also strikingly illustrates the required level of originality, because it allows for a comparison between the German Commercial Code GAAP and IFRS. As a coined word, the term was created for a regional bandages and medical supplier. The gap limits the quantitative impact to Germany, and through its legal framework, it also limits the valuation. The cognitive processing capability and marketness of this creation as a qualitative asset become visible when examining the valuation under IFRS in the balance sheet of Siemens Healthineers. Since a listed corporation applying IFRS may assign a fair value to an intangible asset, this demonstrates the quantitative impact at an international level. This financial market-oriented performance clearly highlights the dichotomy of money in contrast between the two systems. The terminal value is empirically assessed through regular impairment tests. Precisely, this measurability under IFRS demonstrates the complexity of the creation contribution. This dual proof of concept in the real economy and financial markets demonstrates the quality of the work as a benchmark and establishes a measurable level of creative threshold in marketing. In particular, the period from 2012 to the present can serve as evidence of a dual product market fit, and this characteristic further demonstrates fulfillment of the criteria under Section 2 copyright law. The value creation contribution can be calculated for the brand performance elements. Under IFRS, this KPI is referred to as economic value added, EVA. The brand core I created in the nucleus can be precisely determined based on the forecast period that has since elapsed. Strategic brand management reports the EVA rent and impressively demonstrates an empirical measurability of my a priori contribution. The amount in dispute is US dollars $4.85 billion, as this precisely the amount calculated by the listed corporation as brand equity within the terminal value. Since my legal claim targets the name within the brand asset, I can remove the substance basis from the company's trademark and thereby bring down the entire brand. At August 29, 2024, the Hanseatic Higher Regional Court of Hamburg issued a landmark decision in the Ria Pope case, which concerns a highly comparable matter. According to paragraph 136 to 137, at the decision, the assessment of the required level of originality depends materially on the relationship between the specific design, the existing repertoire of forms, and the assigned task. Since I can prove that I enrich the lexical repertoire of forms, and since another statement by the court, namely the adoption of a formulation by third parties, can be a significant indication of originality, is particularly evident in Siemens' use of the term, I can assume with a very high degree of probability that a legal assessment would be decided in my favor. Furthermore, the Berne Convention gives me the opportunity to pursue international proceedings based on German case law. It is particularly worth emphasizing that all participants are in direct neighborhood of each other. So my location is in Bayreuth, and this is also the location of my former company. The client Schug Medical is situated in Eschenbach in the Oberpfalz, and exactly between in Chemnat is a big factory of Siemens Healthineers and a Siemens Trademark GmbH. The headquarters of Siemens Healthineers is in Forchheim and in Erlangen, around 40 miles away.